the breaking point. 1 point. Just one single point stood between her and the biggest final of her young career. And then, her body betrayed her. Tears. Pain. The entire stadium held its breath. Alexandra Eala's mythical journey in Auckland didn't just end. It shattered a million hearts. This is the story no one wants to tell, but everyone needs to hear. Soft CTA. Welcome to Pro Tennis 360, where we don't just watch tennis. We feel every shot, every tear, and every moment athletes face when no one is looking. If you're here because you love tennis beyond the surface, hit subscribe so you never miss stories like this. Now, let's talk about Alexandra Eala, the 20-year-old from the Philippines. For 3 consecutive matches, she didn't just win, she dominated. Auckland wasn't just another tournament for her, it was the tipping point. Every step onto the court carried a sense of confidence, hunger, and the belief that something special was forming. Then came Saturday, the semi-final. Senu Wong, the Chinese world number 57. On paper, a balanced match. On court, it became one of the most agonizing moments of the season. Here's where it gets brutal. Eala didn't just lose the match. She lost it because her body simply couldn't take it anymore. And the worst part? She was so close. Too close. Close enough to taste victory before it was snatched away. The question is, what happened in that semi-final that brought a rising star like Eala to tears on the court? And more importantly, what does this say about the pressure young players face as they claw their way to the top? We're about to dive into every moment, every shot, every tear, because this isn't just a tennis match. This is a story about resilience, heartbreak, and what it costs to chase greatness. Let's get into it. Who is Alexandra Eala? Before we talk about the breakdown, let's talk about the rise. Alexandra Eala is no stranger to those following Asian tennis. But if you don't know her yet, now is the time to pay attention. 20 years old, from the Philippines. One of the fastest rising talents in the women's game today. Just a year ago, she was outside the top 140. Fast forward to 2025, she has defeated Iga Swiatek at the Miami Open. Madison Keys, Yelena Ostapenko, names most young players only dream of facing. Here's what makes Eala different. She doesn't just have the technique, she has the mentality. In an interview with Vogue, she once said, "There's always going to be someone better than you. And what I try to do is just be the best version of myself." Translation: she isn't playing to outdo others. She's playing to outdo herself every day. That is exactly why former pro Nick Monroe predicted that Alexandra Eala could break into the world top 10 by 2026. But let's be real. The top 10 doesn't come easy. Auckland 2025 was supposed to be the perfect stepping stone. She fought past Donna Vekic in a dramatic comeback. She outlasted Petra Martic with incredible patience. And then, the crowning moment. She knocked out Magdalena Frech, a player she had never beaten before. By the semifinals, Alexandra Eala was no longer just a player in good form. She was a threat. The narrative had shifted. This wasn't just a good week, this was destiny knocking. Auckland was ready to witness a new star crowned. The crowd believed. Eala believed. And in the opening hours of that semi-final, it looked like everything was on track. Until it wasn't. First set, the collapse and comeback. Let's pause for a second. What happened in the first set wasn't just tennis. It was a lesson in psychology, of how a young player finds herself when everything is falling apart. Senu Wong stepped onto the court with a clear plan: attack early, attack hard, and deny Eala any time to find her rhythm. It worked. Too well. From the very first games, Wong was in total control. She hit freely, without hesitation, pinning Eala into uncomfortable positions. In the blink of an eye, Wong led 4-0. Eala looked completely out of sync. Her shots were a beat slow. Her timing was gone. The confidence she brought onto the court seemed to evaporate. 1-5 down. The first set was essentially lost. And then something shifted. Eala loosened the iron grip she had on the moment. She stopped playing not to lose and started playing to win. Her footwork grew sharper. Her forehand became explosive. Suddenly, The rallies grew longer, the pressure reversed, and Wong began to rattle. What followed was breathtaking. Game after game, Alexandra Eala clawed her way back. 6 games in a row, from the brink of defeat to total control. The crowd leaned forward. The energy surged. And just like that, Eala stole the first set 7-5, leaving Wong stunned and Auckland vibrating. This was the kind of momentum swing that defines careers. It wasn't just about technique, it was about belief. In a moment where most young players would have folded, Eala found something deep inside. She reminded herself she belonged here, that she deserved this moment. As she moved into the second set, she didn't just believe she could win. She knew she would win, or so she thought. Second set, the momentum swing back. Now here's where it gets messy. The second set opened with more chaos. Wong, still reeling from the first set collapse, surged ahead again. This time 3-1. But Eala, now overflowing with conviction, hit back immediately. She broke back once, then again. Suddenly, she was leading 5-3. Just one game away from the final. The crowd was on its feet. The cheers were deafening. And then, match point appeared. One more clean strike. One more hold of serve. But tennis, once again, showed its cruel face. Wong refused to collapse. She dug deep, steadied her nerves, and began hitting lines with staggering precision. Slowly, the momentum slipped from Eala's fingers. Just as Eala had flipped the first set, Wong now flipped the script. 7 games later, the set was gone. 7-5 Wong. This is where psychology becomes everything. As Eala walked back to her chair, something was different. Her shoulders were tight. Her breathing was heavier. That spark in her eyes had dimmed just a fraction. Let's be honest, this wasn't just losing a set. This was losing an opportunity. Eala had the match in her hands, and it vanished. Entering the third set, the question was no longer can she win, but does she have anything left? When you are 20 years old and you almost grasp the biggest win of your life only to let it slip, that isn't just physical exhaustion. It's a soul-crushing mental drain. The third set was about to prove that in the most brutal way possible. The injury, when the body breaks. The third set began, and almost immediately, everyone knew something was wrong. Eala moved more cautiously between points. She winced. Wong sensed the vulnerability and surged to a 3-0 lead. The Philippine star tried to mask it, but the pain was undeniable. And then she raised her hand. Medical timeout. She clutched her lower back and hip as the physiotherapist worked. The stadium went silent. No one spoke. No one moved. Everyone just watched a promising young player trying to keep her dream from splintering. This is what makes this moment so brutal. This wasn't the kind of injury you play through. This wasn't a cramp. This wasn't fatigue. This was something deeper. The lower back, the hip, the regions that, if they fail, the entire kinetic chain follows. As the match resumed, Eala's eyes glistened. She wiped away tears before stepping back to the baseline. This was no longer a tennis match. It was a test of the heart. Now let's be clear, most players in that position would have retired. They would look the score, 0-3 down in the decider, injured, exhausted, and say, enough. I live to fight another day. But Alexandra Eala is not most players. Even in agony, she refused to surrender. She shortened the points. She fought through the discomfort. Down 2-5, she found a break. Down 3-5, she held serve. At 4-5, she pushed Wong to the limit, forcing pressure on every return. The crowd believed again. For a brief second, it felt like another miracle was brewing. But Wong stayed steady when it mattered most. She closed the match 5-7, 7-5, 6-4, ending Eala's dream run with tears, pain, and a standing ovation. When the final point landed, there was no wild celebration. Senu Wong let out a long, heavy sigh of relief, knowing exactly what kind of battle she had just survived. The tears, what they really mean. Let's pause for a second and talk about those tears. Because when Alexandra Eala left that court, her face drenched and her body aching, it wasn't just disappointment. It was something much deeper. People often don't understand athletes at this level. When you are a young player trying to break through, every tournament is a chance to prove you belong. It's a chance to show the world and yourself that you aren't just lucky, that you are actually good enough. Auckland for Eala was supposed to be that moment. 3 straight wins, beating higher-ranked players, confidence surging, momentum building, and then 1 point away, 1 match away from a potential first WTA title. And then her body said no. Those tears weren't just about this match. They were about every hour of training she poured in, every sacrifice her family made, every time she pushed her body to the limit, believing it would hold. And it didn't. This is the psychological weight of injury. It feels like a betrayal. Your body is supposed to be your tool, the one thing you can control. When it breaks at the worst possible moment, it's devastating. But here's the thing, Alexandra Eala didn't cry because she was weak. She cried because she cared that much. That is exactly what makes her a rising star. The greatest players, Serena, Nadal, Djokovic, all have one thing in common. They hate losing so much that it physically hurts. Eala has that. You could see it in the tears. Wong's reaction. Respect over celebration. Now let's talk about Senu Wong. Her reaction after the match spoke volumes. When the final point dropped, there was no exuberant celebration. Wong didn't scream. She didn't jump. She exhaled, long and heavy, as if releasing the weight of the entire ordeal. She walked to the net with genuine respect. That is when you know how hard the match truly was. In her post-match interview, Wong didn't hesitate to praise her opponent. It was a crazy battle from the start to the end. She's an absolute fighter. I'm really happy to be through to my first ever final. These words carry weight. Wong knew she hadn't just beaten a player. She had survived a rising star in the middle of a breakout. From a psychological standpoint, Wong is also a player trying to break through. World number 57, not a global icon yet. She is fighting for the same opportunities as Eala. In this semifinal, she faced an opponent who, if we're honest, probably has a higher long-term ceiling. Yet, she found a way to win. Not because she played perfect tennis, but because she kept her head when Eala's body failed her. That's the difference at this level. It isn't always the most talented person who wins. Sometimes it's the one who makes fewer mistakes in the critical moments. Today that was Wong. But Wong knew, just like everyone in the stadium, that if Eala had been at 100%, the result might have been very different. The bigger picture, injuries and young stars. Now here's where this story becomes about more than just one match. Alexandra Eala's injury in Auckland isn't an isolated incident. It's part of a larger, alarming pattern in women's tennis. Let's be honest, the WTA Tour is more grueling than ever. Tournaments are constant. Rest is minimal. The pressure to perform at every event is immense because you never know when the next big chance will come. For young players like Eala, climbing from the top 100 to the top 50, the pressure is tenfold. They have everything to prove and nothing to fall back on. High-ranked stars can afford to skip a tournament. They have massive teams and guaranteed sponsorships. But for a player around rank 100, every match is a battle for survival. This is why we see so many young talents sidelined. The body doesn't recover. The mind doesn't process. When you're 20, you think you're invincible. You push through the pain. You ignore the warnings. Until you can't. What worries me is the momentum. If Eala has to sit out for weeks or months to recover, it could disrupt everything she just built. 2025 was her breakout year. But a breakout only matters if you can sustain it. That is the cruel irony of pro tennis. You aren't allowed to be weak. You aren't allowed to be hurt. Because the moment you stop, 10 other players are ready to take your place. Will Eala come back stronger? Or is this the start of an injury cycle? We've seen it happen too many times before. Please don't let Eala be another what if. The resilience factor. Why this matters. What does this loss actually reveal about Alexandra Eala? You don't learn much about a player when they win easily. You learn about them when things collapse, when the body betrays them, when the dream shatters in front of their eyes. And what did we learn about Eala in Auckland? We learn she is a fighter. Even injured, even down 0-3 in the final set, she didn't retire. She didn't crumble. She fought. She found breaks. She held serve. She forced Wong to earn every last point. That's not talent, that's character. In the long term, tennis, like life, is about who lasts the longest. The greatest legends weren't just the most talented, they were the most mentally resilient. Serena Williams was sidelined many times, yet always returned. Rafael Nadal's body broke down repeatedly, yet he kept fighting. Eala is showing she has that same DNA. I believe she'll come back stronger because she has the right mindset. Remember her words to Vogue. I try to do is just be the best version of myself. That is not the language of someone who folds after one loss. That is the mindset of a champion. Auckland hurt. It was heartbreaking. But if this is the hardest lesson of her career, she is going to be just fine. Heartbreak today, greatness tomorrow. Outro, what's next? So, what is next for Alexandra Eala? First things first, recovery. She needs time to heal physically and mentally. This kind of loss, where victory was within reach, can haunt you if you don't process it correctly. But if she takes the time, trains smarter, and comes back stronger, Nick Monroe predicted top 10 by 2026. After seeing her in Auckland, I believe it. Eala has shown us everything she needs to be a superstar. Skill, beating the likes of Swiatek, Keys, and Ostapenko. Mentality, coming back from 1-5 to take a set. Resilience, fighting through injury when others would quit. Humility, staying focused on improvement, not just results. The only thing missing is time. And time is on her side. At 20, she is years away from her physical prime. Imagine her at 25. To everyone who felt heartbroken for her in Auckland, don't be. This isn't the end of her story. It's just the next chapter. And the best chapters usually come after the most painful ones. If you made it this far, you're someone who cares about the story behind the numbers. That's what we do here at Pro Tennis 360. If you want more analysis on the psychology and drama of the tour, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Alexandra Eala's journey is just beginning, and you'll want to be here when she reaches the top. Thanks for watching. This is Pro Tennis 360. Stay locked in, and we'll see you in the next video.